Well, last night my internet went out right at the start of chapter 19, so I figured I'll just start reading there again. It's a short chapter anyway. I was enjoying the stream last night, but yeah, the internet went out and rebooted essentially, and I was just done at that point. I didn't want to get restarted, so sorry, y'all. We still had a nice little stream anyway, even though we only got through the one chapter. And it was good for me anyway to get myself kind of, off to bed. So yeah, we're reading again from The Ghost Theater, a novel by Matt Osman, best bassist in the world, in my opinion. Probably. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah. Y'all, pardon me. Anything else to report on? I'm thinking. Not sure. I'm hoping not to stay on too late tonight, but I do want to get through at least 3 chapters. So we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling, how far I get, and how distracting the chat is. I'm hoping it'll be lively, but we'll see. Okay, so I will get started. Chapter 19. Autumn turned to winter, and the leaves that clogged the riverbanks burned and burnished, and then turned black. Cartwheel tracks froze and melted and froze over again until the streets were riven with ruts. Crows and jackdaws grew squabblesome over the scant booty, and the rooftops were treacherous but oh so pretty. Shade twisted her messenger route so that they always took in the Blackfriars Theater, just to feel its roof under her feet. Her footsteps were messages to whoever might be awake below. Tap, 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 I miss you, said her feet on the roof boards. Tap, 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 do you miss me? On the evenings that she wasn't with Devana, Shay stayed at the theater, and every night she heard the boys crying for their mothers, weeping, always weeping that passed along like beacons on hillsides, like wolf pack howlings, always for the mothers, Shay noticed, never for their fathers, not during night, the heart's domain. It's kind of interesting because it reminds me of when I was little and, kind of my first memories. I remember my dad brushing my hair, and he was so brutal with it, and he pulled at the scalp. He would brush my hair out, and then he would tie it up all really tight. And I just remember how it felt so painful, to have him brush my hair and just, put my hair up into, I had those, he used to do those little ties that had the beads at the ends. They were figure 8 shaped, and they had a rivet in the middle, and then on either side there were these beads, and they were kind of some kind of hair tie, the same material as a normal hair tie thing. But yeah, it always was so painful. He'd tie it up real tight with those, and I just remember I would cry when he was doing my hair, and I would cry for my mother, and then that really upset my dad. I remember him being very hurt, or wanting me to stop crying for my mother when he would be brushing my hair, just because it was so painful and he was so rough with me. And I do feel it was kind of hard not having that balance. You don't think about it as a kid because it's normal, but you grow up and you think about what people who had 2 parents in the home what they go through or the different experiences they have and the balance that the gender parity actually offers them, And I just feel like there's so many ways I can see like the deficit in me and like that longing for my mother was never really satisfied. And I think it kind of like in many ways got me interested in like feminism and stuff. I just wanted to be around women and be nurtured by women, And not the, I mean, there were some women I met that were kind of that way. I did befriend like some older women who, took me under their wing to a certain extent and like, but it just, there's nothing that really makes up for that. And, even in that context, I mean, they're taking you under their wing to help like you remain in your hell. I don't know. It's difficult. So yeah, I'm reading that. I read it last night and I was kind of like touched by it. But yeah, reading it again, it's just kind of like, yeah, I remember being really little. I was like 4, and there were these times when I would cry for my mother, And I didn't have like many memories of her. I had like a couple, like, and they were very kind of scant, but I felt like her absence so strongly. And it just would come out in these times when I was like saddest or just, just desperate or like struggling with my dad, his inability to be gentle, Anyway, these poor boys crying for their mothers in the night. Nights were when Shay took to the river too. She left gifts for Lonan on the Birdland jetty, like so much birdseed. Did they get to him? However hard she tried to keep her home solid in her mind, it was turning into a place of mists and moonlight. London breathed out and blew it away. And what happened to Nonsuch and her? They became a double act, playing scene after scene in their private places. Shay lived for those hours in abandoned houses where they hid to map each other out, her fingers tracing the contours of a new land, his cities and his outlying islands, his main roads and uncharted territory. He was Magellan, circumnavigating her from toenail to hair tip and back again. By night, she was his swan. Beneath him, pale and extravagant, and by day, his magpie, stealing pretty things for him. And above and beyond and around them, something was growing, the ghost theater. I'm wondering when she's going to wind up pregnant. What do y'all think? Is she going to wind up pregnant? Oh, hey, shout out to Chaos Confessional and Modern Gentleman in the chat. Thanks for being here and showing some love in the chat. But am I right? She keeps doing it with this guy. They've been doing it a while. When is something going to happen? I mean, it doesn't get that graphic, but maybe they're doing something. I don't know, but it just seems odd to me that 2 young people of their age at that time are doing it like this, and there's nothing growing inside Shay yet. You know what I mean? Little odd to me. Okay, the 5 of them played shows on the backs of carts and in burnt-out chapels. Shay sang in cellars and attics and never remembered a word that she said. And then, as winter bit, Nonsuch led 100 followers singing up through Cripplegate to the wilderness of Tenter ground, where 20 open coffins were lined up, and inside 20 white faces stared blindly at the clouds. Alouette was the first to sit up and talk. It was my mistress who forgot the cherries, so Muggins here has to brave St. Giles, still in her uniform, which is something I swore I'd never do again. but it was either that or a beating, and the master enjoys those a little too much. And halfway across Whitecross Street comes a carriage where no carriage should be, and I hardly have time to shout before the front wheel hits my shoulder and I'm on the ground. And I look down at my broken arm, and it was my mistress who forgot the cherries. So further along, a boy's voice started up. They said the Irish would be glad to see us, and like fools, we believed them. And we even waved at the soldiers on the beach, and it was the first time I ever saw muskets, lined up like pins in a pincushion, and us boys fell in our hundreds, most dead before we hit the water. But I was only wounded, so under I went, and the sea was red with blood. And when I broke the surface for air, they fired again, over and over, until I couldn't breathe, and I almost welcomed the shot that went through my eye. And they said the Irish would be glad to see us. Different voices with stories of different lengths that piled up like stones until they were the sound of an endless landslide. Shay's character joined in last of all, repeating her lines in a rush of breath, with Blank's trumpet, a savage bird, overhead. They said, "Come with me, your mistress is sick." And deep down I knew it wasn't true, but what can you do when they are four and you are one, and they are rich and you are poor? And even as I was dying right there in the alley, I saw my new kerchief stomped into the dirt, and I thought, that's a shame. That's a shame. And they said, "Come with me." She rushed at it like a child's prayer until some sandpaper song. I'm getting a call. I get spam calls from this number pretty regularly. It's like a police department in Arizona asking for donations. I mean, does that sound in any way legitimate to y'all? It doesn't sound legitimate to me. And I also, why am I giving money to a police department? Right? Like, even, like, what do you think I am? Okay, let's see. Let me just start again at the top of the paragraph. She rushed at it like a child's prayer until some sandpaper song rose up through her, unbidden, dragging her heart along with it, and she looked down on herself, one coffin among many, her mouth moving but no sound, and the crowd surging like a waterfall, and then, who knows how much later, she woke in the back of a cart, sodden with sweat and stung with cuts, asking, "What did I do? What did I say? Who was I this time?" All right, that was chapter 19. Nice little quick chapter. Let's find out what happened to Shay now. I really like the imagery of some of these plays. Like, that's a very interesting play they put on. Imagine going into this like field and they've got all the coffins lined up with the actors inside, and they're all telling these stories. Or maybe they weren't actors. I'm not clear if it was them in the coffins or if they were among a bunch of dead bodies. I imagine that would be rather difficult to arrange, you know. Although getting the coffins would be difficult to arrange as well. And I'm sure they'd find ways, but anyway, interesting. It's interesting to imagine like that kind of play setup. All right. Chapter 20. A Sunday afternoon, and the Blackfriars troupe were supposed to be rehearsing, but an unexpected spell of sunshine left them beach and languorous on the theater roof. There was something post-coital. I got my vowels mixed up there. There was something post-coital in the mood. Interesting. There was something post-coital in the mood, apparently. Huh. Trestle chewed on a chicken leg while Alouette lay with her head on Blank's lap as he mended a seam on her jacket. They all had their ailments from a ghost theater show the night before. Shay was bruised at her knees and elbows. Linen piles had broken her fall as planned, but still, it was a 2-story fall for maximum spectacle. Oh, God, how dangerous. None such was a mess. His blackened hair had run, leaving purple stains at his hairline, and his clothes were ragged. It didn't stop him from pacing the perimeter of the roof, talking. I really thought they might kill me. When you jumped, they bayed, like animals, all of them lost in it. 2 prentices had me by the ankles and shoulders, ready to toss me off the building. Shay shook her head. I hated to do it, but I was shouting, "It's a play! It's just a play!" I just swear that you weren't dead before they would let me down. Oh, interesting. They thought that he pushed her or something? I mean, God, I can't imagine doing a jump like that. I mean, what kind of nerves would you need to have to jump even 2 stories? I mean, for a play? Doesn't that sound crazy? I hated to do it, but I was shouting, "It's a play, it's just a play. I had to swear that you weren't dead before they would let me down." He did another circuit, and then his brow furrowed as the skylight swung open. It crashed back onto the roof, and an unseen voice said, "Oh, for God's sake." A face popped out, wet with sweat and puce with fury. "What the F? What the fuck are you lot doing up here? I don't climb stairs for anyone, certainly not for you insects." Evans hauled himself up through the gap and then caught his breath, slumped against the skylight. As he mopped his brow with a grubby kerchief, Shay backed behind the chimney. She wasn't sure why. He was pink and plump, and those heavy rings cut into his podgy fingers. Well, isn't this the motliest of crews? He hooked a finger at Nunsuch and Trussell. You 2 are supposed to be rehearsing, and Christ knows you need it. He looked at Alouette. And I don't know where you're supposed to be, but I'm certain it's not on my fucking roof stuffing your fat Flanders face. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, maybe you should go back and listen to the last chapter, because they did do a dead kind of ghost play that was quite interesting. Hello, Samuel. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. He mopped his brow again. And who do we have here playing the world's worst game of hide and seek? Is it? It is. Little Miss Boy in the streets, girl in the sheets. Out of your nest you come. I need to speak to you too. Nunsuch stepped forward. Evans, this is Shay. Evans waved him away. I know who she is. Dee told me all about her. I believe I'm even paying her. He took Shay by the wrist and moved her to the center of the roof. His eyes read every inch of her face. Is that right? Shay nodded, suddenly shy. He jiggled the coins in his pocket. 2 pennies a day for sitting there watching your lover tit about. I'm not getting much for my investment, am I? Maybe it's time that you did some actual work. He stretched his arms wide to incorporate the 4 of them. Right to business. I am having an event at my new house on Saturday. The great and the good will be there. So I need the small and the shit to entertain them. Trussell and Nunsuch, you'll be serving drinks and dressing up. Nunsuch asked, is this a proper mask, or will we be nothing but glorified serving boys? Evans grinned. You won't even be glorified. No, it won't be a mask, because I want people to circulate, so we'll dress you up in a toga. and make sure your arse is hanging out. You too, Trussell. So no more fucking chicken for you this week. This guy says the F word a lot, I have to say. I don't like Evans at all. He looked down at the carcass and balefully pulled a leg off. Now you, Flanders, get back to Dee's and get those fucking fireflies we paid so much for. Stock up on fireworks, too. You know what the Queen likes. The Queen will be there? The Queen will be there? Nonesuch couldn't help himself. Probably, possibly. He stood in front of Shay. And you, flapper girl, you're doing your act. They all turned towards Shay. Alouette said, she's a prompter. It's not much in the way of entertainment. Evans stretched. The rooftop wasn't made for a frame like his. I'm talking about her act. The singing, the soothsaying from your little plays. His voice was thick with sarcasm, and Nonesuch looked as nonplussed as Shay had ever seen him. My phone going off. I don't get it. Oh ho, did you think I didn't know? Nonesuch, you couldn't buy a pie without someone telling me what the filling was. You couldn't have a wank without me knowing who you were thinking about. Dee tells me that this little flapper has been telling fortunes for a bunch of penny groundlings, and now she's going to do it for the quality. Even thinking about it sent a shiver through Shay. How could she explain? I can't. It doesn't simply happen. The words were out of her mouth before she knew it. Evans gave her a dead look, and his sarcasm reappeared. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Well, if you can't, then you can't. That's fine, little one. All we can do is try our best, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm sure people will understand. He took a bite of the chicken. And then I'll personally throw you off this roof. Oh, my. It was as if she'd been slapped. Was it possible to have stage fright days before the event? Nonesuch stepped forward with his palms up. The thing is, Evans, it's as if she goes into a trance. She doesn't know what she's going to say or sing before she does it. It can be a bit, he reached for the word, apocalyptic, the moon on fire, armies of eagles, that kind of thing. It might not be appropriate for the Queen. Evans pinched his nose. Christ, well, now I know how to answer my friends when they ask, do the actors just make it up as they go along? He looked impossibly weary. Right, so Nonesuch and Trussell, be a mind for 6 bells on Friday. Flanders, head out to Mortlake and bring our flying friends back here for tomorrow afternoon. And you, little miss, neither one thing nor the other, are fired. Get your things and fuck off back to the marshes. Whoa. Whoa. You can't, Nonesuch and Trussell said in unison. Can, will, did. She gets tuppence a day so that you two don't have to bother learning your lines. If she has no other skills, then she's overpaid already. The rooftop was silent, bar an incongruous wood pigeon. Oh dear. Shay could feel a heat rising in her, like the moment before a song wiped her out. The cards, said Trussell. Evans tilted his head. What? I made you special cards, Shay. They were to be for your birthday, but they're pretty much finished. Cards? Evan asked. Cards for... Trussell searched for the word that might unlock the situation. Predestination. Oh, here we go. Now she's reading cards. See, y'all, don't get into this stuff, okay? This is fine in stories, but you don't want to be playing with that. Evans made a ho-hum gesture. Card reading? It's all a bit village fair. I suppose it might work with a costume and everything. Let me see these cards. The box was wood, studded with red stones, stage gems. There was a drawer of them in the prop cupboard. Shay slid the lid off and removed the pack. They were thick, red-backed cards with a picture on each one. Suits of ravens, sparrows, hawks, and magpies. They were beautiful. One bird to a card, sketched in ink and then overpainted. The portraits burst from the page, each bird captured in movement. The hawk was frozen as it grasped prey, great wings balanced on the point of the talons. A raven perched and pecked at a bone. The wren peeked from its nest. She didn't have time to check all the major arcana. Tarot language. I mean, it's so interesting because, anyway. But she could guess most of the cards from their form. The two swans with their necks entwined must be the lovers. A flamingo with its legs crossed into the shape of a number 4 resembled the hanged man. She took a breath and placed 3 cards in a line between her and Evans. You can tell fortunes with these? He looked dubious, and Shay risked a glance of gratitude at Trussell. The pictures were the birds of her childhood, of Birdland, and she had no idea how he'd known her so well. Shay turned the first over, the 8 of sparrows. It showed birds fleeing and a man turning away, disappointment. Yes. Her heart beat high in her chest. Yes, I can. Okay, so the 8 of sparrows, I'm assuming that's like an 8 of swords image, or maybe 8 of cups. Yeah, 8 of cups, because it's the birds fleeing and a man turning away. It just reminds me of that kind of like image, because in that card, at least in the Rider-Waite, which is like, the most universally used tarot, there's that image of the guy kind of turned away, walking away off into like this desolate, opening. And then behind him, there's 8 broken cups. So he's just like, and it's clearly it signifies that kind of like separation or movement from one situation to another where there's nothing you can recover. Comes up with like breakups and stuff, and that, or major losses, deaths. Well, anyway. So now our poor Shay is finding another form of divination to get into. It's not enough that she reads the birds and does these like songs and speeches when she goes into like a trance state, channeling. Now she's going to be reading effing tarot. Like when does it end? I don't know. Like I'm liking this story, but I'm also like kind of it's dark. Of course it would be. Like, why wouldn't it be? But I'm kind of like, oh. And like, I'm into it in a way, just because this is stuff that I'm like, I'm familiar with divination. Obviously, you all know my past, but it's just, and it's just interesting though, kind of like confronting it in this book and like reading about it and like, having my personal feelings of like aversion, but also wanting to get through the story. So anyway, I think that was chapter 20. Let's continue. Yes. Chapter 21. Excuse me. Is it all glass? Shay kept stumbling because she couldn't keep her eyes from the building that shone ahead of them. The streets were rutted hard with ice. A plowed field would have been gentler underfoot. Alouette and Trussell had stopped, open-mouthed. Only none such seemed unsurprised by the apparition. Every wall is etched Venetian glass, he said. Over 30 panes, apparently. Each one costs more than a Shoreditch house. And the whole thing is built in the shape of a letter E, just in case Her Majesty pops by. There is a wooden ground floor so that Evans can sleep and eat in peace. And of course, the servants' quarters are tucked away out of sight, but the rest is just as you see it. It floated on the night air, drawing them closer, and they weren't the only ones. The street was thronged with gawkers, faces all tilted the same way and lit by the same strange light. Already chestnut sellers and whores, always alive to a crowd, plied their trade. Oh God, that would have been. Ugh. Hi, you want up here? Come on. You want up here? Come on. Come on, you know you want up here. What's up? Yeah, that's my boy. Hi, Stacy. Welcome to chat. We're having an intermission, y'all. Hi. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Was you missing me? You just saw me. You've been with me. Did you be with me? Okay, I'm gonna move the camera down slightly. See if we can get our little friend here. There. Yeah, there he is. Nero likes Dr. Seuss. Would you like me to read you some Dr. Seuss? Is a person no matter how small? That's right. Communist propaganda. Oh, thank you, Samuel. Do you see that, Nini? Do you see that? Samuel sent a super sticker, which sadly is not coming up on this screen. Let's see. We'll pull it up here so I can see what it is. You love me? Stop there. You love me. What you loving me for? You love me? Little me? You're human? That's so nice. What I ever did to deserve love from the key. Little. Okay. Oh, it's the kitty. Thank you. I thought it might be the kitty. I was like, did he send the kitty? Yeah, Samuel sent the black kitty sticker. I love those stickers. They're so fun. Yeah, cheers. Thanks for supporting the channel and for supporting the kitty. Hey, sweetie, you knocking things around. Be careful. Come on. Black kitty, just tradition. He is good. He's a good boy. If I ever seen a good boy, this is what he looked like. Yeah, what a good cat. Wow, that's your fierceness? Did you show us your fierce claws? Show us them claws again. Oh, wow. We're so good. Scratch. Yeah, you like it. You love getting scratches. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do have my legs crossed. Maybe I should uncross them so he has a more stable place to lay. Is that better? Is that better when her legs aren't crossed? Is that better? Let's see. All right, we'll put the camera up slightly, y'all. Halloween is his natural holiday. Yes, I suppose it is. You like Halloween? We love Halloween. We love dressing up in costume. I don't know what I'm going to do this year, though. What should I be? I don't know. I have a friend visiting in early October, and we were going to go thrifting together. I thought I might try to piece a costume together from that. But I don't know. I've been a witch last year, and that's one I can kind of easily do because I have black dresses and a little witch hat, but it would be fun to put a little more effort in this year. Just because, not that I haven't done my best the past couple of years, but I haven't done, something unique or really put a new costume together. So Yeah, it'd be nice. We'll see what we come up with. Pick a saint. Oh, that's going to be difficult. I don't want to be a saint. It's Halloween. I want to be a sinner. No. I don't know if I want to be like a person or like a figure. I like more generic costumes or like ridiculous costumes. Like I had a shark costume a few years ago that I did. That was fun. That was the first year I had my scooter. So I got done up in the shark costume, and I went to the museum and I was having fun kind of like circling some of the exhibits. And that was when they had the Queen Nefertari exhibit at the local museum, which was so cool. I loved it. They had all kinds of just like ordinary, everyday items that Egyptians used. So like women's cosmetics, bottles and like applicators and stuff, and like ordinary people's dishes and like work tools. Like it was really cool. And they had some like sarcophagus and like some other interesting stuff. No, stop. Why are you being so bad? Don't be mean to me. Okay, you get off of me. No, baby, you're being too much. Okay. Don't be a witch, be a hag, be Baba Yaga. If I can find some chicken feet, that would be good. I put chicken feet on my chair. Baba Yaga, interesting one. Yeah, I don't know. I think I need to be inspired, honestly. Maybe, yeah, I need to like go be inspired. I'm not going to pick something. I mean, maybe something will come to me, but I think I'm going to like wait to see what I kind of find. And, having my friend there will be helpful. We can kind of like spur off of each other ideas. So, be a bottle of peanut butter, Stacy. That sounds difficult that sounds like a difficult costume. Not only to like create, but also to wear. I want something that I can wear kind of easily. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure I'll have lots of options. I'm not too worried about it, And even then, I'll figure it out. If I don't find something when I'm out thrifting, I'll still have time to like, get an actual like costume. So, maybe I'll get something generic or, or one of those like, adult costumes. Maybe I could be a double. I was a double when I was like 20, and it was super cute. Like I had the little red horns and like red cape and stuff. I mean, I only really wore that to work, but it worked and it looked good. Well, anyway. Maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know. I have to really think. Well, I don't really have to think. I have to be inspired. But yeah, I love things I love about Halloween. I love dressing up, obviously. I love kind of just the time of year it is. It's starting to get cool, and crisp, even in the daytime. So it's like just kind of a transformative time. And I like to ponder the darkness, I suppose, like all human beings do. There's a mystery and fascination that everyone has with it, whether they admit it or not. It's something about it that's intriguing. And, I also think about memories of fun holidays, trick-or-treating as a kid, even going to like those autumnal, like harvest events that they would like have at churches for kids. I remember going to a couple of those, instead of Halloween. And it'd be like basically a big party anyway, and you'd bob for apples. I don't know. There's like part of me, like when I was like an occultist, that was like dismissive of those events, but I felt like they also were a lot more fun than a lot of the other like Halloween activities. I remember one year too, like my dad's, I think it was like one of the last years I trick or treated. My dad's girlfriend at the time, she had some younger kids, and we all like went together to the mall to trick or treat, which was interesting. So like we went past every shop in the mall, and like the workers there gave us candy. It was like an interesting event. Like, and I was an alien that year. I was a gray alien. I had this like silly alien mask and like, anyway, cosmic kind of get up. So I don't know. There's all kinds of things I could do. Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that in a while. Yeah, I have to say though that year was like less candy than I ever got because every place only gave us like one piece. And as an adult, I've only lived in one place that actually did trick or treating in my neighborhood. I mean, I lived in one house for years. I never got any trick or treaters. But when I moved into like further southeast, I found out that we would get trick or treaters. So I was prepping for it, and I got like, I don't know, like 20 something of those big candy bars at the grocery store, you know, like not the king size bars. Oh, they're like even bigger than that. They're like the big like Hershey's, Mr. Good bar, cookies and cream, like, you know, those different kind of flavors. I don't know how many squares exactly come in them, but they're the bigger ones. Anyway, the like grocery store was having a sale on them where they were all $1. So I bought like, yeah, 20 something dollars worth. So I had like these 20 candy bars. And that was fun. So I lived there for 2 years. And we didn't get a ton of trick-or-treaters, but we got like a number. So I had a lot of fun just sitting in like the living room that year, and watching my scary stories. I think I watched like a number of movies. I know I watched Willard, and I think I watched Heathers that night as well, because I had all these like VHS tapes at the time. But anyway, yeah, every time a kid like would knock on the door, it was so fun to like give them one of those big candy bars. I mean, I hope I live somewhere where kids trick or treat again, because I really do. If I were still fat, I could go as a giant sachet. Oh dear, Stacy. You like Milk Duds? I do not like Milk Duds. They're weird. I guess when I was a kid, though, they were interesting. Yeah. What was everyone's favorite candy to get when you trick or treated? I'd love to know. For me, it was usually like, obviously, like Twix, any chocolate, obviously. But then I really lived for like Nerds. Those were really great. I loved those as a kid. Thinking about it now, I would never. I imagine if I were like a mom and my kids would go trick or treating, I imagine like, grabbing their candy, obviously picking out a couple pieces for myself. Man, anyway, people's parents, like, they devour that candy too. But I imagine I'd be going through the candy and being like, yeah, you can't have that. You can't have that. Just because, yeah, when I think about it now, I'm kind of like, ugh. It is fun, though. Good memories for kids, you know. Pieces, Reese's peanut butter cups, not Pieces peanut butter cups. I like those too. I'm very fond of that, actually. And they have so many different types now. It's kind of exciting when I go to see all the different kinds of Reese's there are. Local drunk gave my kids yogurt tubs a couple of years ago. So they got tricked, I guess. They didn't get a treat, they got a trick. Jeez, yogurt tubs. I loved though the people. I always got excited if I went to a house and like they gave you a toothbrush and like floss and stuff. I was always like, oh cool, a new toothbrush. And then some people gave me money, like trick or treating, because they would be like, oh, I didn't think of trick or treaters. And they'd give me like, I remember, I don't know, over the years getting a few dollars, you know, because they didn't have like candy and they felt bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I don't get them here. There's some kids in the building, but like, I don't know that there's not enough and like really to, I think, justify people buying candy, you know, to give to trick-or-treaters. Does anybody here have trick-or-treaters come to their place? Because I liked it, you know, I really did enjoy having them, you know, come up and see their costumes. And yeah, I remember, yeah, that year that I was giving out the chocolate bars, the big chocolate bars, I was dressed as Wednesday Addams. That was fun. Easy costume as well. Yep. Oh, hey, dollar bill. Stacy got a dollar bill too. Yeah. Those people. And yeah, I remember like having the door slammed in my face by some people who were like, I'm a Christian or stuff like that. I was just always like, whoa, what the heck? I don't know. I love trick-or-treating. It was such a good time. But yeah, I don't know if they do it like they did back when we was kids, or I don't know, some neighborhoods seem to. It was nice living in a neighborhood where kids came around. I really appreciated that. And like seeing their little costumes and their little smiles, especially when they got that big candy bar from me. They're like, oh, dang. And there weren't that many that came. I think I had like less than 10 kids come each year that I lived there. But yeah, I've been in apartments since. So we don't really get them. Well, anyway. Let's see. Let's get back to this book. Okay. All right. Who would live that way? It didn't square with Shay's view of Evans. He was vain, sure, but this looked unbearable. No one. It's not really for living. It's a queen trap. The country lords have their fireworks and banquets. Evans has this. Even if she only visits for an hour, it'll do wonders for his status. They came closer. There was movement behind the glass windows. Each one was an individual room. Torches blazed inside, and the etchings and moldings that patterned the glass churned the firelight into something geometric. They trapped the light and etched stars and coats of arms, in mirror patterns and rainbow bursts. Inside the rooms stood figures who, even at this distance, were clearly gentlemen, drinking, talking, dancing, and circulating. each huge window a new scene. A chubby man kissed the hand of a woman so tall that even when curtsying, she looked down on him. Two young bloods played a game, getting servants to toss fruit towards them. They took it in turn. Rude. Did you hear that? He dressed up as a pharaoh. You're silly. I'm wondering, and I'm thinking, like, did I ever do anything like that? I don't think I've done anything Egyptian. That might be something cool, like to be a mummy, or maybe do like a Cleopatra. Maybe I'll be Cleopatra. Maybe. That sounds fun. Doesn't that sound fun? I've never done it. I wonder how I'll style my hair. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm excited. I'm thinking about all kinds of ways to dress up. Yeah. I've done like different figures. I was Frida Kahlo one year. That was pretty fun, especially doing my makeup. And I was a banshee one year. That was interesting. Like, I got this idea to be a banshee, but like nobody knew what I was. And yeah, the costume that my dad and I constructed was really interesting for it. That was a fun year though. We got this like eyeshadow palette, and my dad, like, it was like blue and gray, and my dad basically like streaked this makeup all over my face, the different colors. It was I don't even know. I wish I had a picture of it. Maybe I wasn't wailing enough. Yeah. Has anyone ever experienced one of those? I think I have. All right. Oh, you were a gypsy? Nice. That's problematic, though. Problematic costumes. Thank you, Golden Rule. He says, I'm looking good. I try my best. And I'm not even looking my best, but thank you. Because, well. Have I done a flapper look? I feel like I did that once one year. I didn't really like the costume, though. It was like, yeah, kind of one of those chintzy, like, I don't know. It wasn't sophisticated. Like, I feel like if I did flapper now, I would do a much better job. I don't even really like that, like, flapper idea anyway. Flapper wear is for ectomorphs. Yeah. And I was not an ectomorph, especially like as a preteen, it was a very awkward stage of life for me and my body. Like, it just wasn't looking like it needed to look. But sometimes the costumes can kind of give that effect or look. So they can, because of the shape of the clothing, it can kind of make you look thinner. But like when you're kind of rounder than you want to be, it can accentuate. It's just not flat. It just wasn't flattering. It wasn't flattering, I felt. So I've kind of shied away from doing it. But I wouldn't mind, like, and I could use a lot of the things for the costume in just like my ordinary wear. Like, I don't have a pair of long gloves, and it would be nice to have some like long theater gloves, especially like for going out. Like going to the opera or the ballet. It would just, be nice to get all dressed up like that. Hi, Odine. Good to see you. Stacy says Mia Farrow is perfectly suited to it. Yeah, she is. I think she's stunning. One of the most incredible, like, looking actresses. I don't know. There's something about Mia. Love Mia Farrow. I love what, like, there's just so much I love about her. I don't know. I could go on about, like, just her personally, and then, like, but just her, yeah, she's gorgeous. You love ballet? I do too. It's amazing to me. Like, I love watching them dance. It's so mesmerizing and, like, engulfing. I get totally swept away by it. I like dance generally. I've always found dance to be riveting to watch. But yeah, going to a ballet is very nice. I do enjoy it. Okay, so shall we continue? Oh, of course I've seen Rosemary's Baby. But you have to see that movie. That's like, how do you miss seeing that movie? It's one of my favorites. I would say it's like one of my favorite horror films. I love it. It's beautiful, honestly. Like it totally sucks you in. It's very creepy, and and it's very like, just, it has that like creepy Hollywood satanic kind of vibe. It's just it's perfect. I don't know. There's nothing in it that I'm like there's no part of that film that I'm not like, I don't know, just enraptured with. And I love, yeah, I love it. I don't know. It's so good. Pacific Heights. Have I seen? Ow, ooh, neck still bothering me, y'all. I have a patch on it today to try and alleviate some of the pain, but okay, let's go back to reading. We've done enough. We've done enough. Let us continue. Okay. Okay, two young bloods played a game, getting servants to toss fruits towards them. They took it in turns to slice the missiles in two before they found their target. As Shay watched, one caught a peach on the tip of his dagger and bit into it with relish. Lit from within and caged in reflections, they looked like living paintings. None such took them down a side street, and by the time the building glowed back into view, the personnel had changed. A man in black poured wine into the mouth of a kneeling girl, pulling the spout further and further from her. When the liquid finally spilled from her mouth, a cheer went up, audible even in the street, and money changed hands. It was too much to take in, like watching 10 plays at once. They reached the house just as gentleman arrived on horseback with his men in a V behind him. He leapt to the ground and Pages wordlessly took the reins. He won't let anyone wait at the door. No horses, no carriages. It untidies the place. None such his voice was half scorn, half admiration. There are stables and parking around the back. He stood at the building's base, soaked in rainbow light as carriages unloaded noblemen upon noblemen, and the air rang with raucous greetings. A set of double doors, wide enough to drive a carriage through, stood open onto a set of polished stairs. Two of Evans's men stood at the entrance. You lot. One of the men pointed at them. Back entrance with the staff, and you're late. Nonesuch mock bowed, making sure his face was caught in the blaze of lights. Sorry to lower the tone, Capusco, he added under his breath. Next time I'm coming through the front door. They entered into the barely contained panic of a kitchen at breaking point. Boys with trays of food, girls pinning hems, steam, smoke, and sweat. A damp-haired cook shouted, "Shoes and hose off!" Oh, for fuck's sake. The latter was aimed at Shay and her filthy bare feet. Ash-soled and streaked with dried mud, and every little crease filled in with black. The cook pushed a grimy bowl of water in Shay's direction. Try and get the worst of it off. Who are you? The cook was spattered in flour and sugar. Don't tell me. The entertainment? She didn't wait for an answer. Sit there, keep quiet, and do not touch a thing. I love this bossy chef. Whatever happened to Baby Jane? Oh, I love that. I was just watching an interview with Betty Davis last night where she talked about how Joan Crawford went out of her way to get people to not vote for her. Like she asked people in the Academy not to vote for her for Best Actress because she was jealous or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, that's what Betty implied. And I love Joan Crawford as well. I'm actually more of a fan. I don't know. It's hard to say. I identify with Joan Crawford a bit more, just her background and her life. I identify with her more than Betty Davis. But I love Betty Davis as well, Well, anyway, yeah, she was talking about that and how it was really dumb because obviously it would have been, if she had won, she would have been the only actor to receive 3 of those awards ever. But also she felt that, and I think so too, she had been the best performance of that year. So I do think she was robbed as well. Joan was slightly cuter. I don't know. Have you seen old Betty Davis? I think Joan just kind of, she aged. I think she maintained her kind of, well, I don't want to say that completely, but I think maybe she was still kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't know. She just kind of, I think, had more of a certain kind of appeal, I would say, about. She was scary when she got old. Yeah, Joan kind of just aged very well. Although I would say that she maintained her physical kind of sex appeal, I would say, into an old age. She never kind of lost that. I mean, when she got old to a certain age, but even looking at it then, I could still see her being fawned over by certain men, or many men, honestly. Plus, she's just, I don't know, so iconic, But yeah, Betty was a beast of an actress. She was. I remember watching, some of her old films and just I don't know. She's very enchanting and beautiful too. But, not everyone can be Elizabeth Taylor. No. Love her too. But I feel like Joan even, I don't know. They both aged very well. But yeah, Joan kind of, I don't know. I mean, they were two very different kind of women, though. It makes sense how they aged. I don't know. Betty, though, even in her, I love watching old interviews or, towards the end of her life, how she looked because she just kind of, I don't know, she had such style and poise and, the way she spoke. It was, just, I don't know, fun to listen to her. So I often, if they come up time to time, when I'm scrolling my little algorithms, and I love my classic films, so it comes up. Rod Serling, that's the guy from oh gosh. What is it? What is the name of that show? Come on, y'all. Twilight Zone. Okay. I've never really watched Twilight Zone, to be honest. I've not really ever watched it. So, all right, y'all don't have to keep saying it. And you didn't have to call me a dummy, Stacy. Gosh. Rough. Okay, let me get back to my little book since y'all are hating. Okay, let's see. So the cooks just okay. They squatted against the rear wall and watched the hysteria unfurl. A team of cooks worked on sugar sculptures. There were palaces, castles, and even a simulacrum. Oh man, this book. This book is getting me, y'all. Simulacrum? I gotta look up words. I gotta learn new words. I feel like I've heard this before, but
simulacrum.
Simulacrum? Why would you ever say simulacrum? My hair is kind of irritating me. There's this little piece that keeps falling off into my face. Okay, let me reread that. So let's say
simulacrum.
Simulacrum. Really? Why would you? Okay. Let's see. Where was I? There were palaces, castles, and even a simulacrum of Evans's glass house, all of which were whipped away by serving boys, leaving us the finishing touches were applied. Someone called out, "Get them upstairs before they melt. Faster." 2 turnspit dogs ran inside wooden wheels suspended from the ceiling. Oh, I've heard of the turnspit dogs. Have you guys heard about this? How they had these specific tiny hounds that were bred. Oh, well, I just opened my little video game on my phone. Yeah, they had these little dogs who would get into this like churning thing and they would just walk it. And it was like how they, I think it was used with like roasting meat. So the dog would like walk in this little thing and then the meat would like churn as it was roasting over the fire. So, it wouldn't get burned and it would get cooked all the way through. I'm pretty sure that they were used for that. But anyway, yeah, there was even a specific breed of dog that was like specifically fit those devices, which were like a old form of technology. It's interesting to think now. Occasionally, one or the other barked, whether in pain or exhilaration. Shay couldn't tell. Where did they think they were going? What did they think they were doing? She pushed closer to Nunsuch to avoid a string of drool that fell from the closest dog's maw. In the corner, 2 seamstresses worked on a serving girl's outfit, pinning the hem provocatively high. Oh dear. Pinning the hem provocatively high. Oh dear. Oh dear. Shay tried to give the girl a rueful grin, but she turned away, damp-eyed. Oh, she turned away damp-eyed, poor thing. Trussell dug an elbow in her side. Look at that. 3 girls were launching delicate sugar-work galleons onto the lake surface of a brimming punch bowl. The little boats shivered and righted, ghostly white against the deep plum of the punch. Once they settled down, the serving men took the handles of the vast silver bowl and hoisted it onto their shoulders. Shay didn't see Evans enter. One minute he wasn't there, and the next he was leaning against the door jamb, scanning the throng, reaching without looking to pluck a sweetmeat from a passing tray. His shirt was of liquid canary silk, bright as sunflower petals, but there was already a stain on the lapel, and it strained at the waist. His cream hose bunched at the knee. He ate the sweetmeat without chewing and reached out to Nonsuch, turning his face towards the light. Dirty nails and rings on every finger. Shay smelt duck fat and lilacs. He stood aside to let he stood aside to let the men with the punch bowl struggle past, and then clapped his hands together. Players, get over here. I have costumes. Behind Evans stood a man in rough linens with a bucket of golden liquid. Nonsuch eyed it suspiciously. Gold paint? We're doing a tableau? Christ, Evans, what is this, 1590? I thought I could do my Faust, or one of the Henrys. That's always popular with the monarchy. Evans's voice was loud enough for the whole kitchen to hear. Well, you thought wrong. Your tendency to attempt to improve upon the agreed script means you are not to have a speaking part around our sovereign. In fact, he watched Nonsuch's mutinous face and then picked an apple up from the table. He polished it on his hose and then tossed it to the lounging man. Daltrey, paint this up too, and then stick it in his mouth. He can be. Who was the girl with the golden apple? Daltrey looked blank. Eris, said Alouette, hiding a smile. Eris, that's right. Nonsuch, you're Eris. That means Trussell could be Paris. If Paris was a short arse with rabbit teeth, and Frenchy here with her classical knowledge gets to be Aphrodite for a night. Alouette's mouth hung open. I'm not an actress. I'm here to do the pyrotechnics. I have it all set up. And a lovely job you did, too. My man says he's rarely seen finer. He gave her a sharp look, which she immediately returned. But this is when the adults take over. Time for the little ones to say their prayers and shut up for a bit. Alouette didn't change her stance. Christ, try to understand. You three are a tiny part of tonight. I do not want you talking or acting or setting off firecrackers in front of the bloody queen. You are strictly, he threw his arms wide, decorative. I want you naked, painted gold, and holding a plate of fucking. He looked around the room. What are we serving for starters, cook? She was bent double over nothing. Coxcomb stuffed with turmeric leaves and sweetmeats. Evan sighed. I want you holding a plate of fucking coxcombs. What are coxcombs? Coxcombs. I kind of want to look it up. Do y'all know what this is? It's not a dish I've ever heard of. We're pulling it up. Okay, so something is coming up. It's a flower? Oh, it's like rooster. Oh. Wait, no, it's not. Okay, so it's okay. Stems, flowers, and leaves are used for stews, soups, and as sides to meat and poultry. Or maybe it's like coxcomb, like, because I think it's more likely to be that, right? So it's like the bit of the rooster, the top of their head. Ew. I mean, I guess, yeah. Ooh, so the queen's coming to dinner and they're going to be eating that? Or they're going to be serving that? I guess it's not dinner, it's like a party, but ooh. Okay. Now you can manage that. Or now can you manage that? Or do I have to recruit more street children who might show an inch of gratitude? When the pair finally quietened, Evans took out a package. And where's our flapper? It's hiding beside none such as ever. Out you come. Shay stepped forward and he handed her a package in tissue paper. Something slight and slippery. Get changed. Let's see what we're working with. Here? She looked around at the cooks and the serving boys and the maids and the dogs. No, in my private changing room. Of course, here, you little wretch. No one's going to be watching. Do you imagine there's anyone here who actually wants to see you naked? They changed in silence. Trestle and none such wore linen pouches tied with string. Alouette the same, but with a band of cloth for her chest. She smoothed it down self-consciously to cover as much as possible. Somehow, the idea that others were watching none such's naked body, a thing she'd come to think of as her own personal treasure, upset Shay more than the prospect of her own embarrassment. Her own costume was different from theirs. It lay on the table under thin paper, midnight blue and roughly patterned. She untied it carefully. Oil-slick iridescence and a fantail of color. Shay's heart leapt and then plummeted. The skirt was made from magpie feathers, and not the black and white ones, but instead those from the tail, the exact color of the sky's last moment before night. She pushed a wad of nausea down. There must be 100 feathers. 100 feathers meant 100 dead birds. Oh, wow. That's right, Sabrina. Waiting on God. I'm hoping it's flowers. I don't think it is, though, guys. My hair. Hi, Matthew. Terri Strange. Your hair has its own life, almost sentient. Indeed, it does. Why can't I get this piece behind my ear? Like, why won't it stay? Like, do I have to pin it up or with something else? Like, y'all, excuse me for a moment. Let's deal with it. Driving me nuts. I'm going to get it all flipped up. Oof. Oof. Ow. Yeah, this patch on my neck, it sometimes pulls at some of the hairs, which is not so nice. The come hither hair, it's the get out of my, off and out of my face hair, get out of my sight and, off my neck and such hair. There we go. Is it come hither? It looks a little crazy. Yeah. Not so come hither. I mean, it depends on you, I guess. But I will say, y'all seem to like my hair up. It does look nice. It's nice to see my my neck, and shoulders. I think it looks nice when I have my hair up. I think you should be a mob boss's daughter for Halloween. Honey, I don't need to go there. We're not doing that. That's problematic as hell. Yes, I tried me from Bible study. This is not Bible study. Indeed, it is not. No, that piece was bothering me. Although it looks like it might pop out again, y'all. This piece. Okay, where was I? That is sad to think 100 of those specific feathers taken from 100 birds. She stripped quickly as as close to the wall as possible, trying to hide her taped down breasts. Still, she felt the pressure of eyes upon her. The dress fitted perfectly. Again, her heart jumped and then dived at the beauty, as the beauty of it gave way to the realization that someone had studied her closely enough to know her shape that well. She hoped it was blank. Once she had wiggled into the dress, she turned back to the room. None such an Alouette and Trussell were lined up, arms aloft, as Daltrey sloshed gold paint over them. Careful, for fuck's sake, Evans was supervising. The paint costs more than you do. He caught sight of Shay watching. Come on, then, let the dog see the rabbit. She walked into the room. There was something unreadable in Alouette's eyes. None such, and Trussell looked away. It'll have to do, I suppose. It doesn't do anything for me, but hopefully not all my guests have such discernment. Even Shay heard none such as snort. Without looking up, Evans said to the painter, Apple, and none such as smirk disappeared, open wide. Shay eyed the bucket of paint cautiously. It had grown a thick brown skin on top. Evans followed her eyes. Not for you, little flapper. We have other plans for you today. Sit. He positioned her on a stool and drew a razor from his pocket. The bustle of the kitchen continued, but the room's attention settled on Shay. You could be seen without being watched, that she knew. Evans sat in front of her and sharpened the razor on a strop. His voice was low, meant for her alone. So you're a flapper, yes? Shay sought out none such as eyes, but they were saying nothing. I'm an Avisculton, yes. It's not a crime. He sighed. I didn't say it was. There are lots of bad things that aren't crimes, though. He looked up and caught the fear in her eyes. For Christ's sakes, no one cares that your gods lay eggs. This is London, not the countryside. Plenty worship stranger than you. I'm just checking that you have the tattoo. The slap, slap, slap of the razor on the strop was the loudest thing in the kitchen now. Shay nodded. Hot water and soap, for God's sake. The last was aimed at the broad back of the cook, who straightened up and brought him a bowl of water from the stove. Evans dissolved the soap, his smile disappearing behind a wall of steam. Right. Let's see what we have under this stubble, then. Fat fingers, thick rings. He held her by the chin as he worked, tilting her head with a gentle pressure. What did he see? Shay worked hard at becoming whatever people saw in her, a boy, a messenger. Nothing to worry about. But Evans didn't really see her, she decided. He saw the use of her like a tool. She met his eyes and looked at him properly for the first time. Lines folded around his eyes and deltas of wrinkles radiated from their edges. Excuse me. What are y'all talking about? Y'all started talking. I can't keep up with you now. The sign behind me says Strange. We'll have it up sometime. I don't have it plugged in. Yeah, it says Strange, you guys. All right. All right, so let's see. Deep ruts ran from eyebrow to hairline, bisecting the furrows of his forehead at an angle. Under his eyes, a cross-hatching of soft patterns crumpled his skin. He placed his palm on the back of her head, and she felt the scrape of razor against her scalp. He washed the soap off as he went, gentle with a cloth, a sensation so shocking so shockingly intimate that she had to cross her legs harder. He knew what he was doing. He left the sides just as her mother once would have done, as two wings of hair that would be thickened and shaped with the soap. Once he was done, he stood back to examine her tattoo, turning her head this way and that. Even in the warmth of the kitchen, her scalp was cold. He sighed again. I would have preferred something more warlike, really, something more mystical. An eagle would mean we had a good stage name for you, or a phoenix bird. He brushed off a stray soap bubble. Oh well. He turned her chair around so that she faced the throng, and he put on his master of ceremonies voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, he beat a drum roll on the table, the fucking sparrow. Women who drink out of mason jars get extra points. I love drinking out of a mason jar. It's so, it's just so quaint, isn't it? There's something charming and quaint about it. Do you want to see it so badly, you guys? I'm thinking yeah, which way do I need to go? Not that way. I need to go this way to give you a better view of it. Okay. Oh, give me a second, y'all. There we go. See, it says strange. Do you like it? What do you think it's going to look like when it's all lit up? I mean, I've lit it up before. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, I got that for my birthday, y'all, and I haven't put it up until now. So, does my mason jar smell like lemon gin? Indeed, it does not. I don't know the last time I had any gin. I probably, yeah. You know what? I did have an alcoholic drink a couple weeks ago. What was it? I don't remember. I thought I didn't specify because I didn't think I needed to specify because I was looking at the non-alcoholic menu when I ordered, but the drink they brought me or gave me was alcoholic, and it had the same name as an alcoholic beverage when I looked at the menu again. So I had that, but I don't even remember what was in it. It was nice though. I don't think I've ever had a mint julep. What's in a mint julep? Yeah, what is in a mint julep? I don't think I've ever had one. I've had I've had a gimlet. I do like martinis. I've often gotten those when I go out. They're very strong though. So I do like gin if I get a cocktail. But I don't know, I'm more apt to get an Irish coffee or something or yeah. It depends. It really depends. I do it so rarely. But it is fun. It has bourbon in it. I don't think I've drank bourbon. I've never drank absinthe either. I know, I should have had absinthe. Why haven't I had absinthe? You like it, Rome? Heck yeah. Hi, Rome. Yeah, it tastes like black licorice. I love black licorice. Bourbon, syrup, and mint. That sounds nice. Simple. I like a simple cocktail if I'm having something. Okay. Well, now that we've talked about drink teas, I'm thinking maybe I should go out for a cocktail. Maybe Friday I'll do that. I've taken the next 3 days off of work so I can have some like rest and relax and like just catching up with like stuff at home time. So maybe Friday go out to one of the places and get me a little something. We'll see. Bring chat. What if I went live? Yeah, at like a bar or like, I don't know. I could wear. I usually wear a fancy hat if I'm going out, or at least a, you know. I mean, yeah, they're pretty fancy. Let's be real. Like JC. Oh my gosh. Well, he doesn't go on his. He doesn't go on his own channel, doesn't he? Just like pop on to other people's like streams. I feel like that's okay. I do feel weird. Like it would feel weird if I were in a public place and I just like went live, you know, unless, I mean, I could see it happening for certain reasons, but like when I'm going out for like a drink and a snack, I don't know. Fancy hat based. Hey, my grandma always said that when in doubt, accessorize. So I do. I got me some good accessories. They're everywhere too. Me and my little accessory thrills. Check this out. What do you think of this beautiful bracelet? I'm going to put it on. Put it on right now. There we go. See, I'm already accessorizing again. Oh, God. I remember when I was live on Fred's channel with Art, he kept calling him Low Diddy. He was saying, "What are you doing in that back room?" Because like Fred went off to, go do things, And he's like, I bet he's got a whole like surveillance system set up there. He's like, Terry, what do you want to bet he's got a whole surveillance system set up? When Art like makes fun of Fred, I can't. It's so funny. And like Fred's response too. It's the thing of beauty. I wish I could go live with them again. I never laughed so hard in my whole life. Okay. Anyway, back to our story. A squadron of serving girls left with platters on their shoulders. Alouette and Nonsuch fumed from behind gold paint, but Evans was still focused on Shay. He scooted closer. It's an improvement. Now you look like a bedlam patient, which adds just a frisson of danger. But it's not enough. He lowered his voice so only Shay could hear. Hunter or prey? He tilted his head as he looked at her. Shay held his gaze but said nothing. He sighed. Silence means prey, little one. Both, then. He looked genuinely disappointed. There is no both. You don't get to be everything in this life. Magpies are both. Kill their own, get killed by their own. Foxes, too. He looked away, uninterested. True, but you're not a fucking magpie. Whatever your barmy relatives might think, you call yourself a man, and men choose. Shay screwed something up inside of her. Hunter, she said, with the voice she saved for stage. Perhaps, not yet. Something in his look shot an arrow in her. But you have potential. Say it again. She steeled herself. Hunter, I'm a hunter. Then suddenly, more quietly, a sparrowhawk. He nodded. That's something to work with, at least. He fumbled in his pocket and said, Hand? It took her a moment. She reached her hand out to him. Her nails were long, with tips blackened with London grime. He took a greasy leather case from his pocket and unrolled it to show a gleam of metal. Knives, picks, files, like a locksmith. Her heart leapt. What might he try to unpick in her? He removed a file and twisted her hand upright in supplication. Don't move. His face was womanly as he worked, sharpening each of her claws to a point, turning her fingers towards the light. Somewhere nearby, a servant sang a lullaby, and the domesticity of the atmosphere disconcerted her. Excuse me. And there we go. I knew that hair was going to come down again. Y'all, look at it. Dress as a geisha so we can watch Frederick have a conniption. Why would he have a conniption? I look enough like a geisha as it is. I don't need to do the geisha thing. I look like a geisha a lot of the time when I go out anyway. Like, I don't know, maybe the costume would be kind of cool to do. Those robes are nice. It's an idea. We'll see. Freddie likes pale concubines. Okay, Matthew. Is that what you mean? That'll give him a conniption? Anyway, enough. I'm not trying to give any of y'all a conniption here. Man, Fred lives rent-free in y'all's heads. He's not even here, and you're talking about him. Man. Like, I don't know. It's kind of he's like the spirit in some of y'all. Oh man, it's so funny. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. And he said that too. He said that. He's like, I make people feel mad. I make them feel bad in themselves. Or something. But yeah, he was describing, how people react and they get so like worked up by him. He's too easy though. Yeah, but you're like affected by him too. It's funny. It's funny. Dang, this piece of hair. Look at it. Why does it have to? Why? I like messed with it and everything, and now it's back down up in my face. Okay, let's see. He was surprisingly deft. He scraped the dirt from under each tip and made adjustments. Then he unstoppered a little glass bottle and painted her nails a glossy black, the color and sheen of his carriage. He blew on them, bad breath and a tremble in her stomach. There, try them. She now had sharp daggers of nail, more claw than talon. She held them up to the light and then gingerly dug them into her arm. Evans laughed. Some hunter, I give you a weapon and you use it on yourself. She reached her hand to his cheek and his eyes flickered for the briefest moment. Black eyes like a bird's but red at the edges, as if he never slept. Shay searched them for a sign. Yes, no, don't, please. But there was nothing there. Night sky, still water. With care, she dug and dragged unblinking until 5 beautiful beads of blood blossomed under her claws. A second, an eternity. Gently he took her hand and wiped it on her cheek. Black wells of water and black eyes of well water and dead wood. When he dropped her hand, she went to wipe the blood away from her face. But he said, no, leave it. Daltrey rushed over. She's here, he said in Evans's ear, and the whole room stilled. Really? You're certain? The harbingers arrived while you were working. Her carriage is outside. Who is there to greet her? Just Palmer? Oh, Christ. He breathed against the back of his hand, grimaced, and took a bite of an apple. I'll be there in a jiffy. He turned back to the room. You three, take a tray each. Second floor, empty, 3 empty plinths. You can't miss them. He wiped the blood from his cheek. And Sparrow Girl, there's a perch on the top floor. You'll have to find your own way. A perch? Yes, a fucking perch. He looked at the 4 of them. Jesus, what I have to work with. He clapped 2 short gunshots. Go! And if you mess this up, I'm sending you all on a tour of Scotland. He pointed at Nonsuch, stupefied with a golden apple in his mouth. And you'll be playing Edward II. Oh my. We all know about Edward II, right? We don't need to get into why he said that. Oh dear. Poor Nonsuch. I need a picture of beautiful Melania Trump in the background. That would be interesting. I don't know, though. That's a bit weird. I don't know. Like, maybe if I had, like, a bunch of pictures of beautiful women, I'd be okay with that. But just Melania Trump. I mean, I think she's all right, but I don't think it's proper. Y'all, look at this hair. Nonsuch. I think it's just the name of an anonymous person. Nonsuch, you know? Or I think he's named after a place that he lived or something like that. I don't really remember. All right, let's see if we can get it. See, there it is again. Ow, 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 ow. My neck acting up. Oof. Okay, we're going to do this and see if this works to keep it out of my, from falling in my face. There we go. What a mess. Okay, guys, let's get back. This is interesting. Okay. All right, so we had the Edward II joke. We'll move on. Okay. They followed Daltrey up wooden steps, and the noise of the party swelled in front of them. Alouette picked at her costume, trying to cover herself, but instead just flaked gold paint in her wig. Nonsuch was grim-faced. At the top of the steps, Daltrey showed them towards the ballroom and then opened a door out into the night for Shay. Take the outside steps and then come back inside on the next story. You'll be in one of the arms of the E. The back stairs on your right lead up to the maze, and then your room is above that. It's getting pretty wild in the ballroom, and I wouldn't put a wager on you making it upstairs in one piece, not in that dress. He shook his head at something and then lowered his voice. I saw you at the ice house, you and the others. It was great. It was like I was part of something for the first time. Shay didn't know how to respond. She had still not become accustomed to the idea that she lived, visible and responsible in other people's minds. Yo, that's a tough realization when you realize that you live in other people's minds, visible and responsible. There's a lot of pressure in that. Sometimes I don't know what to do about it myself. It's tough, but you figure it out. Okay. He shook his head again and then headed back down the stairs, leaving her out in the cold on a rough wooden platform. It was somehow obscene to be outside in such a costume. She climbed the stairs quickly. Another floor up, and lines of light showed around a low-level wooden door. She pressed her ear against it and heard the party within. She shivered again, though not just through cold. The streets below were quiet, and she let out a quick falcon call. The immediate response from above made her feel less alone. She pushed the door and entered. It was too much. Stepping through that door, out into a starburst of music and heat and laughter and color. The room was drenched in light. It leapt from crystal glass, arrowed across the room to flirt with a diamond brooch, returned, prismed, rainbowed, and reflected between mirrors until the air was afire. The mezzanine was so spangled with light that it took Shay a while to glimpse the people there. Gentlemen all, gentlemen and ladies, dressed far more finely than Shay had ever seen, even at the theater. These were costumes like architecture, concoctions of wire and padding and ruffles, and cinching with detailed construction plans and dedicated teams of workmen. Roughs like cartwheels and farthingales were rowing boats. Moments came and went, a wig pushed back level, a hand on an arse. Trays of sugar mice spent matches. For a moment, the noise and light pinned her to the wall, but then she forced herself to move on. She hugged the near wall, skirting drunken couples, and made a set of internal steps that stood unlit in the corner. Waves of sound crashed against the glass walls. She pulled herself up and around the corner until the light and sound died down and she could make her way up to a quieter story. Glass steps, glass walls. Her feet left ghostly footprints which evaporated in moments. She was in one of the arms of the E, and someone climbed the stairs in the adjacent arm parallel to her. Only 10 feet away, but silent. She looked across idly and then seemed to sense that he was being watched, and he seemed to sense that he was being watched. He turned to face her through the glass walls. Gilmore. Looking back, Shay was shocked at how fast he reacted. He was behind and below her immediately upon seeing her face. He started to bound upwards, 3 steps at a time. She saw him loom and cursed her slowness. Like Devana, he would be upon his prey almost before it realized it was being stalked. Up or down? The ballroom promised safety in numbers, but she'd still have to make her way up to the top of the house at some point. Up then. She flew up the glass stairs, feet squeaking, and burst out into a glass corridor. More steps, a half stair, and then the ground disappeared under her. She stopped and grabbed at the wall, held herself there for a second. It wasn't an abyss after all, merely a polished glass floor. There was a framework of pale wood, she now saw, holding it in place. The sound of steps from behind propelled her onwards towards a crossroads. 3 ways to go as the slap of footsteps got louder. Straight on. The floor and ceiling were glass, and she had to ignore her mind telling her that the world was giving way beneath her. A T-junction. The left was mirrored, the right was all glass. Left might be towards Gilmore, but she'd be hidden by the mirrored walls. She shuffled that way and then stood silently between reflections stretching off into infinity. Slap, slap, slap of footsteps, and then a curse. Close, but not closing in. She kept still. 3 Gilmores crossed the end of the corridor. Were all reflections, or was one the real thing? She couldn't tell. Her first instinct was to flee in the opposite direction, but she waited. Don't be prey, she told herself. She pressed her claws against her temples. No, follow his route. He wouldn't go back over old ground, and he wouldn't expect her to be behind him. She kept low and made for where she'd seen him. She walked slowly, letting her footprints fade behind her. It made her feel erased. A figure appeared and she stopped. The figure did too. Just her reflection. She took in her pink scalp, her black talons. At the junction where Gilmore had turned right, she carefully stuck her head around. Her half face, one wing of hair, and raised eyebrow retreated in ever smaller versions, all the way to the horizon. The footsteps sounded further away. What had Daltrey said? Her room was a floor up from here, and she hadn't seen any stairs yet. She walked as lightly as possible. Every squeak and footstep echoed, and her breath sounded oddly loud. She hadn't seen an upper room from the street, so it was probably tucked away at the center. It was hard to get her bearings among the mirrors, but she thought that the middle of this floor would be to her right. She took a passageway with mirrored floor, and every few feet there was a clear glass panel, and shards of the party below refracted and reflected around her. She saw gloves and trays, laughing mouths, the sparkle of torches, jewelry and flowers. A lamb turned slowly on a spit. Once she caught sight of Trussell, crouched and moving, his mouth forming words. But all she could hear was heels on glass and the creak of the building. She took a right in the corridor with no roof. She looked up in the sky and said a prayer to the invisible night birds. The gods are birds, and the birds are gods. Quiet now, footsteps, but not Gilmore's. These were heels, 2 pairs. She moved their way. When she turned a corner, she found herself face to face with 2 women, sisters. She took them in white taffeta and white wigs. Their farthingales were so wide that their dresses brushed the walls, and they had to walk in single file. They squealed in unison at the sight of her, and she put her fingers to her lips. Quiet, please. Have you seen a staircase up to a room with a perch? The elder looked at her with distaste. Don't tell us to be quiet, not dressed like that. She pulled out a handkerchief and put it to her mouth. What are you supposed to be anyway? Silence, and then the sound of footsteps, nearer now and closing in. It sounded like he was behind the women. Shay turned tail and ran back the way she'd come. This time she turned right into the long mirrored corridor. She'd taken 5 steps when Gilmore stepped out, maybe 5 yards in front of her, but facing the other way. Shay crouched and stilled her breath. She could see his broad back, his hands on hips. Then he turned. Again, the speed of his reaction shocked her. He was a big man, but he was on his toes and running at her in a moment. She scrabbled around and headed back. Her feet were damp with sweat, and she slipped on the glass. He was close. She heard his footsteps and then a crash that shook the floor beneath her. She risked a look behind. Gilmore was on the floor, and a patch of blood smeared across a glass wall that had blocked his path. He shook himself like a dog, and droplets of blood splattered the glass. She went left. Laughter came from over her shoulder. She padded down the passage with hands outstretched in front of her. She didn't want to sit and hit an unseen glass wall the way Gilmore had. Her bearings were off, but if she could get back to a roofless section, then the moon might give her an idea of east and west. Another passage ran parallel to hers, and she saw movement. A door opened in the other corridor, and Gilmore stepped out. His face was bloodied, and his nose looked broken. He faced her with just glass between them, a head taller than her. His mouth moved, but she couldn't hear his words. She stayed still. Both corridors were yards long. If the passages met, then she would be caught. She darted right. Gilmore followed. She stopped. She turned back, and Gilmore copied her, paddling like a cat. He let out a howl, and the glass shook. She stopped, and so did he. Could she wait him out? Could she hear laughing voices? She could hear laughing voices, but it was hard to judge distances here. He howled again, and she had an urge to stick her tongue out at him. Back and forth they paced, like mirror images. Don't be prey, she told herself. But her legs shook with fear. Gilmore looked left and right, and then threw himself at the glass. The whole room shook and the wooden frame creaked. He picked himself up and tried again. The support and the top splintered and the glass cracked. Shay didn't wait for a third time. She took off like a rabbit, with her feet skidding on the floor. She'd gone 10 yards before she heard the crash and the floor shook. She went left and left again, trying to keep out of view. Left a third time into a room of mirrors where the two sisters stood, pulling faces. They were reflected back in a myriad of ways, skinny, plump, wavy, corseted into an hourglass. Shay couldn't see another exit. Footsteps, fast, close, closer, and then stopping, a curse, and then away, off to the left. It's a dead end, said the older sister. You have to go back. Really, this is so tiresome. Shay held a finger to her lips again. Bad idea. The lady gave her a look. I told you I will not. Find us the exit and take us there. The footsteps started up again, coming back this way. Calculations. She was a rabbit in the field just as the hawk's cold shadow came over it. She had to be quick. In an instant, Shay was on tiptoe with her sharpened nails against the woman's jugular. She whispered, I've already killed once with these nails today. Don't be the second. You're going to walk back the way you came, and if anyone asks if you've seen me, then you send them the other way. The woman's eyes widened, and Shay thought she might faint. Do you know the way out? The woman shook her head, but her sister said, We don't, but we saw the stairs you wanted, up to the top room. Again, Shay used her stage voice. The jugular isn't the only vein that can kill. You know what they use on pigs to drain their blood? Another tiny head shake. The vein in the thigh. It gushes like a fountain. In one movement, she pulled the woman's voluminous skirt to reveal a domed lattice framework, sturdier than a Whitechapel cottage. She slipped under, in a low crouch under the back hoop. There was just enough room. Oh my. All right. In a low crouch under the back hoop, there was just enough room to squat and hopefully walk. She raked her fingernails against the woman's thigh, and a quiver convulsed the flesh. She dug her nails in just enough to pucker the flesh. Walk, she ordered, to the stairs. She had to slow the woman down twice with a prick of nails. Not so fast, she hissed. Her thighs already burned from the effort of squatting and walking and keeping pressure on the woman's thigh. It was humid under there, humid and close, and her bare feet stuck to the floor with sweat. They went right, with her legs on fire, and then walked back the way she'd come. She built a rhythm, 2 little shuffling steps for every one of the women's, and it got easier. Then they stopped. A man's voice. Have you seen a serving girl? Shaved head, blue dress? The woman's flesh shivered on Shay's nail point. Too late. She wondered if they were signaling silently to the man. A shake came from above her, but no words. And then the sister said, We did. Horrid little creature. If you go back that way, then you can see the blood. The woman turned to let Gilmore pass, and Shay almost fell. She grabbed the woman's leg and heard her gasp. The tips of Gilmore's shoes showed under the hem as he squeezed past. Thank you, ladies. Slowly they stepped on. The sisters didn't talk. Her thighs ached, her knees ached. It took 10 minutes to find the staircase. They stopped, and then the front of the dress rose like a curtain. The sister's face appeared. We're here, I think. Shay slid out of the glass floor, cold against her skin, and rolled onto her back. 2 faces looked down. They were in a narrow glass passage with a wooden platform in front of a glass box. A playbill was posted on the wall. Flapper Shay, cards, fortunes, future songs. Hello, my love. You hear him? Hello. Zenny doesn't like the book. Well, Zenny, I didn't expect you to like this book. Why would you like this book? It doesn't seem like one for you. I'm liking it though. It's interesting. It's exciting. Okay. Shay rubbed some life back into her thighs, and the sisters looked on curiously. Are you the bird girl from those underground plays? Shay nodded, still winded. Hey, okay, come on. Come on. Don't leave me. What you doing? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Boy. Hey, don't you be changing the page. That's not right. You don't change the page on me. That's not how you do that. You want another can? You want to be 3 cans today? You want to be 3 cans, Sam? Hey, watch out. Oh, you. Don't be doing that. I know Nero wants to be the only one to stick his claws in someone's legs. He scratched me up this morning. Usually I stop him, but I kind of just let him get about it this morning when we was waking up. Oh, hey, check it out, Nero. You've earned another sticker. Thanks, Samuel. Thanks, Samuel. What do you think about that, Nee? You a little hero? You my little hero. Yeah, what a good kitty. Reading glasses on a stick. I'll think about that if I, ever need reading glasses. I mean, I'm sure at some point people generally do the older they get. I'm hoping that my eyesight stays good, though. He's had 2 cans today. He's not getting... How many cans of cat food does a Samuel Super Chat buy? 1.5. Maybe a little bit over 1.5. And cans are usually 90 cents a can for that fancy feast that he likes. Thanks. Yeah. So you sent 2 super chats today with the cat. So you've bought what? Yeah, 3 cans. Thank you, Samuel. I mean, YouTube will take their cut, so I don't know. Hi. You're so perfect. You're so good. You're so good. Yeah, good one, Samuel. Feed Nero a Haitian. No. You don't want no Haitian meat. That's not right. These poor Haitian jokes. Ronnie was all concerned about them today. He was like pleading for their humanity. I'm like, I know. People are being a little bit, it's when things are like tough, people make jokes, What you want? Yeah, what kind of person you want to eat? Yeah, we feed the kitty the people meat. Would we do that? Would we do that for the kitty? I don't know. That sounds kind of wrong. Kitties are supposed to be under humans, but you are my kitty, and therefore my responsibility. You want some? He doesn't like pho. I think I have given him though when I've had ordered it at home and they give you the raw steak. No. I think I've given him a piece once or let him have a little bit of it. You being bossy as hell right now with your claws. Dang. All right. Shay nodded, still winded, and the woman brought her face closer. Can you tell us our fortunes? Shay groaned. I can tell you I'll have vultures peck at your livers for eternity if you tell that man where I went. The women shrieked, half in terror, half in glee, and scuttled away down the corridor. Heels on glass, far-off laughter, shaky starlight. Shay stretched out and wished she could lie there forever. If Gilmore found her, she was done for. But heading back downstairs would be more dangerous still. She might be safer in the glass box, though. She hauled herself to her feet and dusted herself down. She'd lost a feather or two, and the fabric was soaked in sweat. At the center of the room stood a glass box, which had been minutely etched with avian scenes. Birds tumbled and fell and curled around themselves so that beaks met tails. A peacock fan prismed light in rainbow stain across the floor. She stepped inside, and her skin was striped in colored light. The perch sat in the corner like something from a fairy tale stage set. A log, complete with moss and dew, wrapped all around with daisy chains. She climbed up onto it and squatted. It was ridiculous, but at least she'd be hidden from anyone outside. The dress chafed, and she watched rainbows flicker and lengthen across the floor. Where was that moving light coming from? She looked up and gasped. A glass ceiling gave out onto the night, but it was somehow lit with 100 dancing stars. She stood on tiptoe to look more closely. There, trapped between two sheets of glass, fireflies swirled through a thin layer of air. They gave off a soft flickering light like a dying fire. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Twice people read the playbill and pressed their noses up against the glass, but they didn't enter. Shay lay on her back and watched the fireflies write foreign phrases across the night. Party noises came and went, bursts of braying laughter and breaking glass. Her knees ached, her feet ached. She imagined the tableau below and how it would feel to be on display in front of all those people. Still better than being here. She wrapped her toes on the floor. Tap, tap, tap means I miss you. Tap, tap, tap. Do you miss me too? Not that they would hear, but she felt better for knowing that they were close. She read the cards for everyone in the dorm that evening before to reacquaint herself with the meanings. Alouette was haughty, but then delighted when she drew the Empress. Alouette as the Empress. Oh my. Raw steak. Damn, he eats good. I mean, it's not like a real piece of steak, mind you. It's more like it's like a very thin sliver of steak, you know. You heard that your people are detonating people's phones and beepers. Are you talking about like Mossad? Are you talking about that? The attack on the beepers? And you're implying that I'm Jewish when you know that I'm Irish? What the? Is she Irish? Yes. I only heard about it on the Anchor Baby show. I hadn't heard about it otherwise. I've never seen The Nun. I'm not Irish. I am not. Stop it. If I was, I'd be all about it. So stop it. So rude. I love you. Stop it. None such claimed that he could predict the cards before Shay turned them over, and when on the fourth go he was right, he retired, crowing to his bunk. Trussell drew the levers 3 times in a row and reddened and stuttered as the whole troop teased him about his secret bow. Knowing they were here in the building with her, even floors below and unable to move, calmed her a little. She heard Elizabeth before she saw her, not the woman herself, but the cloak of whispers that preceded her, like the first signs of rain. Moments later, the queen swept in like a ship. She was smaller than Shay expected, with neat features and thin hands. Her dress was scarlet brocade, stitched all over with a pattern of laurel leaves, a short cloak of white fur, and a waistcoat in cushioned purple with a pearl in every dimple. Every inch was littered with careless, priceless gems, all in colors only the queen and the birds could afford. A lacy ruff framed that extraordinary face. Grimy white mask, the color of day-old milk. Around her eyes and mouth, her makeup was as cracked as a riverbed in high summer. But behind that broken crockery, something watched. Still, black eyes and thin lips. Men filed in behind her. Pages, advisors, gentlemen, taking up the space until she was swallowed in the mass. The air turned liquid with scent, and the breath and whispers. Man, I love Queen Elizabeth. Any Queen Elizabeth fans in the house? Iconic, legendary. Oh man, the brown eyes, the dark brown eyes. These are the same eyes that Anne Boleyn had. Anyway, yeah, you. Just I don't know. She just as a figure is so I don't know. She was like I guess just inspiring, more than anything, I think, as a figure. And you think of like how England grew and prospered during her reign, and especially with like such trouble it took to like get there. I just am always kind of fascinated by her as a figure. Something about it, something about her. Okay. You are so cute right now, guys. He got his eyes closed. I'm not a hybrid. Okay, Court is agreeing. He says if I had the glasses with ink pens in my hair, ink pens in my hair, Court was crushing on a teacher or something for that. I don't know. Terri needs to accessorize. I accessorize all the time. How much more ornate do you want me, guys? Come on. Chopsticks. I haven't done chopsticks in the hair. Is that problematic to do? I don't know. They're kind of difficult, especially with thick hair. Oh yeah, good point. Men are fetishists. You are right, Stacey. Thanks for reminding me. I forget. Is that too oriental? No, I love oriental fashions and designs and themes. I often draw from that, and style too. Like, definitely find Eastern Asia to be, a stylistically inspiring place. I think I don't know. Sometimes I think I kind of I culturally appropriate my fair share. I do my part to culturally appropriate. Getting little pats on that little face. Yeah. Good kitty. It's a good kitty. It's a pretty good kitty. Okay, where were we? I want to get through this chapter at least. Okay. Oh yeah, we're gawking over the queen, right? Okay. The air turned liquid with scent and breath and whispers. She tutted, which had the effect of silencing them. Shay avoided her eyes and curtsied. She wasn't supposed to speak until spoken to, but the queen was silent. She didn't glance at Shay's dress or the perch. Instead, her eyes flickered over Shay's face. Eyes, hairline, mouth, chin. It was the same feeling as when Blank measured her. She kept quiet until Elizabeth said to the gentleman behind her, "Leave us alone." The room began to empty, not without many a backwards glance, until it was Shay, the queen, and a trio of gentlemen, each with a sword the length of Shay's arm. The queen's voice was a raised eyebrow. "This is hardly alone." The closest, a man in green leathers and an extravagant mustache, said, "For your majesty's safety," and trailed off. What's she going to do, peck me to death? I'll take my chances. They didn't go far, and I'm sure Elizabeth could hold her own as well. How exciting. That's right, Court. Point Fire says, shout out to the race mixers. Do you ever find it humorous how, like, it's always, I don't know, I find it so funny how often the men who I see online disparaging people who aren't white, or like disparaging race mixing when it's a white woman, often seem to have no problem themselves with, having relations of one form or another. I don't want to say even relationships because I don't know how much, I don't want to give them that kind of credit, but I do notice it very often. It is interesting how, like, men who are all into their white supremacy, like, often will end up with a woman who is not white. I think it's funny. But anyway, so yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to the race mixers. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think it's good for people to take on certain traits, People may be wanting to get certain DNA for different reasons, It'll all, work out in the end, I'm sure. Okay, let's see. They didn't go far. Figures crowded the glass walls. No one was gauche enough to stare, but they kept up a slow perambulation around the perimeter. Mouths moving in conversation, but eyes only for Shay and the queen. In silence, Elizabeth sat down on the stool, her dress pulled around her, and she looked imprisoned within it. She looked Shay over again. "Show me your hands." Shay had kept her talons tucked away, but Elizabeth's eyes were everywhere. She reached out a hand, and the queen touched the pads of her fingertips against the points. "That's neat. There's no room to draw a long sword in here anyway. Still, they insist on wearing them, men and their weapons." She looked weary, and Shay wondered how much her outfit weighed. "Blood under your nails too, bird girl. Should I be concerned after all?" Was there a hint of humor in her question? Shay dared not assume so. "No, your majesty, it was self-inflicted." A silence. "And your head?" Shay nodded and brought her brow down. Fingers brushed the outline of her tattoo. "Sparrow girl." Pretty work, but some might call it blasphemy. Shay held her breath. "Well, at least you're not a Catholic." She placed her hand back over Shay's. "You live with your people, the Avascoltans?" Shay nodded. Not being Christians in these times, she shook her head. That's a hard path. We don't mean anyone any harm, Your Majesty, and we are as loyal as any Christian. No harm? Maybe to a certain bird seller. Shay dropped her eyes to the floor. The hand on her chin was soft but forceful. You can't afford enemies, little one. You don't have the resources. Still. Elizabeth looked over her shoulder at her courtiers. It's 4 flights up to your nest. What do you have to recompense my aching feet? Shay kept her head down and said nothing. The queen read the playbill. The sparrow sings like a bird, tells fortunes like a vestal. 1 of each. Shay sat on the floor and pulled a table of etched glass between them. She fanned Trustle's cards. You don't need to touch me. Elizabeth's voice was bright in the room's brittle air. To feel my energy? She had falcon eyes, quick enough to peek into the future. Careful now, Shay told herself. It's not necessary, she said, but she reached her hand out and laid it flat on the table. Elizabeth peeled off a white glove, dropped it on the floor, and laid her hand on Shay's. It was as light as a fledgling's. The slow circuit continued around them, eyes through glass, eyes reflected. Shay shuffled the cards, hoping the tremble in her hands wasn't too noticeable. Keep a question in mind, but don't tell me. It sounded too much like an order, Your Majesty, she added. Oh, this is so funny. He actually wrote this. Oh my. He actually wrote this. It's cool though. I mean, it's cool, but I'm like, dang, he went here. He was like, I'm going to write a little story, a little historical fiction. It's fun. Okay. She handed the pack back. Cut, please. The queen cut the cards, then unasked, cut them again. You can call me Elizabeth while the door is closed. I can't remember the last time somebody did. Shay didn't think that she could. It was best not to call her anything at all. If I could take my hand back. She counted the cards and laid 3 face down. I'm here because Dee speaks highly of you, bird girl, though he believed that you were a boy, so I'm not sure I should trust his judgment. He is always telling me that everything is either useful or ornamental. Shay nodded comically. Oh no. That is not what it said. Excuse me. Shay nodded non-committally. Where did I get comically from? Okay. He's certainly no ornament, so I suppose he must be useful. Evans, too. What about me, child? Shay was still deciding which was less insulting when Elizabeth continued. A useful ornament, perhaps. And you? I strive for usefulness. I'm not sure whether I succeed. She turned over the first card, the Swift. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow, and Shay saw flakes of makeup crinkle at the corners of her eye. Shay said, it means nothing on its own. It's a combination that matters. She turned over another, the Falcon. The third was the Swallow. Not too bad. Shay had already been worrying how she would find a suitably regal explanation for a wren, or even, God forbid, a sparrow. The way Trussell had drawn them, the Swift and Swallow curved in towards the Falcon, who was an arrow pointing towards the ground, talons outstretched in glorious anticipation. Speed and power, Your Majesty combines both agility and grace, truly auspicious. Elizabeth looked bored. Outside, the watchers craned over one another's shoulders to see the cards. Ornament, ornament, ornament. Do you think I need flattery? Flattery is to me what shit is to you. I step over piles of it every day. Useful, remember? Swifts and swallows sleep on the wing, eat on the wing, fuck on the wing. Oh my. She said the F word in reference to the S word. to the queen. This is crazy. She blushed as she spoke. They die on the wing too, and drop like stones when they're done. They have useless legs and useless claws. They are speeding voracious mouths, faster even than the sun. They see the summer before it's born and feel the night while it's still light. Plus the falcon, small but pure, unashamed death. The beauty of death, the terror of it. Shay was talking from another script now, one she didn't remember learning. Elizabeth's eyes licked at her like tongues. Better, but it's still only information. Make it a tool, Sparrow Girl, sharpen it. The words overtook her mind. Use speed and violence. Unleash a death that doesn't rest until it's burnt up. Strike before your enemies see you. Unsheathe. Never rest, never wait, never consider. When Elizabeth's laugh came, it was as if another person had entered the room, someone younger, more carefree. Never consider. Oh, how they would love that. How many people do you think consider my decisions? In fact, change that. How many men do you think consider my decisions before they are made? She pondered the question as if it had been Shay asking. Maybe 100, 50 at least. 50 for a decision about the menu for dinner or which jewels to wear. 100 for anything important. Never consider. Shay shuddered. Elizabeth was deaf. Sat there in fur and jewels. Shay dug deep for her mother. The weight of her. Words she'd heard lightly thrown a decade ago came back. I'm only a weather vane, you know. You know what I'm showing you. There was the longest silence, then Elizabeth's eyes softened, and after a while she reached for Shay's hand again. I see. Too much to expect that you'd wield the axe as well as showing me the next. She burst into a peal of laughter, genuine tavern-style laughter. Thank you, Weathervane. There was an uneasy silence. Faces crowded the windows, bisected by the bird etchings. Was she done? Maybe. Had she made it through? Dee says that you know an older magic. Elizabeth's questions all had trapdoors in them. She tried to pick her words. He is too kind. I read the movements of birds, or at least I try to. Elizabeth waved the idea away. And your songs? Dee believes they contain a secret language. I don't know, Your Majesty. When I sing, I lose myself. I don't know what I am saying. Elizabeth nodded, but there was a hunger in her eyes now. Sing for me, Sparrow Girl. I'm not sure if I can. It's not something I can command, but it's something I can command, no? You are as loyal as any Christian, remember? Sing for me. No, they're blood-sucking vampires? My goodness. I don't agree. Blood-sucking vampires. Why do you think that? Do you mean that, or are you just saying that? Okay, nothing in her scant repertoire was fitting for a queen. None such as songs raged from the profane and to the seditious, and the tunes she knew from Birdland were for children. There was a song from the Cleopatra play, though, that she must have heard 20 times. She thought she could recall the words. She shut her eyes and started to sing. All crowns are crowns of thorns. All queens are queens of night. The glass had the curious effect of amplifying and multiplying every note. Phrases thickened and slurred, and the echoes came before she sung the note. All hearts are made to break. All wings are made for flight. Wait, those weren't the words, but the tune rose like water. To her chest, to her throat, to her closed eyes, until she was under, swept out into an open ocean until she woke up curled in a ball with her hands hugging her bare knees. She scratched at her scalp and felt the sharpness of her nails. The room was so strange, the woodland perched, the gray lines of the bird etchings. She looked up to orient herself. No stars, only one firefly remained alive, batting helplessly against the glass. Oh, poor things. The others were dead, turned to stains against the sky. Her thighs and shoulders ached like sunburn, and there was a taste of blood in her mouth. Hello, she said. Nothing. She made her way out past grain mirrors and dull glass. Ashes and vomit smeared the floors. Twice she had to step over prone figures. The maze was easier in the dark, though she kept coming across wild reflections of herself hanging illuminated in the air. At one corner, she was face to face with a magnified doppelganger, pale and ragged and wide eyed. She reached out to touch her face, and a tremor ran through her as her nails touched the cool glass. Down through the shipwreck at the party, broken glass and partridge bones. She was halfway to curtsying at a lady sprawled in a corner when she realized it was a discarded dress, kept semi-upright by its stays and corset. She giggled and bowed instead. "Milady?" Cleaners mopped at the floor in the ballroom, singing a work song softly to one another. She skirted back the way she'd come. Even the kitchen was quiet. The cook was sprawled dead drunk across the serving table, while the churn-spit dog slept in the corner. Shay took a sugar ship from a discarded tray and broke off the mast, sucking on it as she left. Only the guards were still awake, and their eyes followed her back all the way down St. Anne's Lane. Was it 4 bells already? As dark as it ever got anyway. The moon was a gray smudge behind clouds, and there wasn't enough light to risk the rooftops. Instead, she picked carefully through the streets, guided every now and then by some night owl whose candle still burned in an upstairs window. It was so quiet that she could hear snores from within the meaner houses. She tried a falcon call. No reply. Further west, the streets grew busy. The sky glowed fiery over Whitehall, meaning whole teams of people must be up and working by lamplight. The frantic hoofbeats of outriders racing along the main thoroughfares drove her into the back streets. Something was happening. On any other night, she would have found herself a vantage point and watched to see what unfolded. She caught glimpses of messengers and soldiers, and that meant just the kind of gossip from the outside world that would have the boys in the dorm agog. But she didn't trust the roofs with a quiver in her aching limbs, and she had a need like hunger to see the others. She kept to back alleys, letting the lights from Cheapside and Night Rider Street send her shadow scurrying across the walls. Someone had left the hatch from the street to the theater unlocked. None such, hopefully. She slid through and tiptoed down to the dormitory into the yawns and sleep mutters of home. She found her way by touch to their bunk, but it was cold and empty inside. No matter, she was asleep in moments. All right, I'm going to stop there, y'all. We're at chapter 22. Interesting. When Terri reads to me, I have mama flashbacks. She used to read me to sleep too. She used to beat the tar out of me too. She was a good mama, bad mama too. Did she have reasons for beating the tar out of you? I don't know. Some women can sometimes really go overboard when they hit kids. I mean, because it's usually reactive and emotional and like insane. I remember a friend of mine who had a particularly sadistic mother who she told me about, like, just the ways her mother like would assault her. It was awful. Like, everybody's sleeping. Yeah, we've been put to bed. It's nice to have the stories to make us go to sleep. And it's even worked on me. I'm feeling that nice call to get myself off to bed. I hope you all do too. It was a nice dream tonight. Nice reading. Interesting, marvelous reading, to be honest. I'm quite, I knew it was coming, but I'm also kind of just like, he really wrote this. He really went here with this. I mean, wow. Incredible. I'm wondering. It was a beautiful, beautiful guitar. I loved the like uniqueness of the wood. I did like the little alligator bit. I don't really know what that part was called, but I saw it, I saw it. um, yeah, the little tiger was cute on the back too. So it was like a nice piece. It's unique, very, very like lovely, lovely, instrument. How do I sound right now? I probably sound so silly. I like it. Oh, you called her Horseface. Not lovely Anne. She's a bit horsey, but she's a fine looking woman. Strong features. Handsome woman. Anne seems like a pretty respectable person. She's been through some stuff, but she seems to put her duties above other things and keep her head down and just it seems like a humble, sort of servant in her family and in her role. I don't know. I like a lot of them. The British royals anyway. I don't have any, not all of them obviously, but I have my favorites. I don't know. Queen Elizabeth the First. Just is fascinating as a figure, and they, the British, were coming to America at that time, and yeah, there's influence from that time and her reign in the country and the growth and development of what became America. So it's just interesting time period. Also, like I've watched, different films and TV shows over the years that kind of feature her. And I just think it's interesting, her like storyline, as a person, her like the trials she went through and how she ended up kind of in the position she did. And the fact that, there was such a just explosion of like culture, the economy, growth of the nation, strength of the like British kingdom in so many ways. At that time, it's just, and the era, the Elizabethan era, was just very exciting. So it is exciting to be reading a book that takes place during that time. One of a kind, too. It is one of a kind. The guitar is one of a kind, a unique piece of art, an instrument. I don't really like corgis. I'm kind of prejudiced against them. I find them to be a bit absurd. I suppose they're cute, but I do find them rather, I don't know. I prefer, like for small dogs, I prefer other small dogs to corgis. I find them kind of, it's not like I've ever met one I didn't like. One of the neighbors has one. When I first moved in here, it was cute. I was kind of exploring the property, and we have these really nice courtyard, on the property. So I like went out and was exploring it, and this little corgi comes up beside me and he starts herding me, and I hadn't really remembered or realized that they are herding animals. So yeah, he's like, I'm circling the perimeter of the walkway in the courtyard, and this little dude, runs out of his apartment and then like starts walking alongside me. His name's Cole. He's pretty cute. Yeah, small dogs are aggravating to you, Court. I don't know. I like them sometimes. I mean, they're definitely different from like your type of dogs, which are like more, they're doing things. I think small dogs have like a different kind of purpose. I do like lap dogs though. I've had some sweet dogs that are, small dogs. Lhasa Apsos. I love Pomeranians. I saw a really adorable Pomeranian today. It was like an all white one. It was really, really nice too. Her little coat was all brushed out and really sweet. They yap endlessly. They have reasons for yapping. They hear things. They're warning you. My dogs are more well behaved than most kids today. In decor, well, kids these days, what can you say? The kids aren't all right. They're a mess. What can we do? What can we do for the little chilies? I don't know. I don't know. I like smaller dogs. I even like yappy dogs. I like chihuahuas. Not all of them, but I've known some that are pretty cool. I like I'm trying to think of other small dogs. I like poodles too. I think they're pretty cool. They're kind of tough animals too, pretty hardy little animals. But I don't know much about dogs really. I'm thinking of the dogs I've kind of known and taken care of. One was a shepherd, like an Australian shepherd. And then I'm fond of chows. I would love to, if I were to have like a medium-sized dog, I'd want to have a chow chow. Those are like amazing. Oh, and then there's beagles. Those are pretty sweet dogs too. I don't know if I would have one necessarily. I had a friend who her family had this female dog called Peanut. She was a beagle. She was fat as heck. She was fat and had arthritis, and she was like just the sweetest girl, though. So sweet. I loved cuddling with her and like petting her, and she was just a loving dog. And she lived for a long time, surprisingly, despite how fat she was. Like she kept going for a while. Bobby Rush sang a song called I Want to Play with Your Poodle. Oh my, that's suggestive. I don't know about that. What does that mean? Enough talk about dogs, guys. I gotta go to bed. It's time. Thanks for being here, watching my little stream, listening to our little stories. We'll pick up another time soon, I hope. Probably later this week. And yeah, bye. It does look pretty cool. Wait till it's lit up. Wait till I actually light it up. It's gonna be amazing. But yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, bye y'all.